Swagger on point when I step in. Signs in the air for the gang that you're repping. Don't get brave when I'm stepping in the rave. If you show man love, everything's okay. So looking for a lively rave to have fun in. If there ain't girls in the place, we ain't coming. Middle finger up to the Jake, stepping in with the gang. Please tell the police they can't come in. Show me a salute, that's gang. Pure love for the crew, that's gang. Don't chat shit if you ain't gonna bang. Just show man a sign if you're down for the gang. Show me a salute, that's gang. Pure love for the crew, that's gang. Don't chat shit if you ain't gonna bang. Just show man a sign if you're down for the gang.
Eric Asierno Gibb, obviously on Twitter. Me and him have gone back and forth a couple times with Bernardeschi and some things. But no, he put out like a video thread. And, you know, obviously wanting to express his feelings about Sarri, why he didn't think, why it's not working, his point of view. And, you know, like I've always said, I like seeing content and I like hearing everybody's opinion. I think it's great. You know, even if you're going to have one like Mr. Danny Golf here, that's fine. But I'm going to come back with my piece and so be it. And I have to agree with a lot of what he said. Now, let's kind of break it down into like segments. You know, the first point he makes is about adding quality, adding players. Sarri doesn't have the right players. And that's kind of been, you know, something I've said. I believe he definitely needs to get players that, you know, can fit into that system. You know, if you don't have three strong center backs, you're not going to play 3-5-2. It doesn't matter. Just because Allegri would play 3-5-2 and throw in a left winger and a central defensive mid as your center back.
Conte, you know, like
right.
People who used to do that. Yeah,
that's not necessarily. I mean, you could call it pragmatic, but again, it hasn't always worked. It's worked in certain occasions. But again, you generally want to play to your strengths of the team.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, everyone said that Sarri is so stubborn. He's going to need to play to the system that he likes and need the players that he's going to need. Now, again, so the example was Ronaldo, right, initially.
Yeah.
If Ronaldo, you know, if this system makes CR7 look bad, it doesn't matter what players you add. It's not going to make a difference. I have to disagree with that. If that's the bar, that's setting a very low precedent of what it is from a player that said, I'm only going to play on the left wing. And I really don't care about what you guys have to say about it. And has really, you know, underperformed as a striker or whatnot. I mean, that's a pretty low bar to set, personally, in my opinion. What did you have to think about, you know, obviously quality of players? We'll get into the Pep thing next, but kind of just generally about the Ronaldo.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Like, I understand where he's coming from. Like, Ronaldo is like really well. He's playing in different systems, obviously, whether it was with Zidane or Ancelotti or Mourinho. But at the end of the day, he's essentially just holding us back. The system's not making Ronaldo look back. It's just Ronaldo's like tendency to kind of take things on his own, his selfishness, I guess, best way to describe it. You know, holding on to the ball for too long, like we talked about before, trying to go past players. Like, it's not Spain and Italy. People, you know, the tactics are there. Coaches know how to stop most of them. You know,
especially
most players
Italy.
drop. Yeah, most coaches in Italy know how to stop a player like Ronaldo from going past everyone. But I think that if Ronaldo was to embrace the system, he'd actually be doing a lot better, if anything, because the whole system is designed on getting crosses into the box, whether it's far post or low crosses into the middle. He's always going to be on the end of them because that's his role. That's what That's what Sarri's trying to get. But I think Ronaldo is holding the system back to an extent. It's not entirely his fault, but I think Ronaldo is holding the system back. You know, not entirely again, but
because he's a great quality.
Yeah.
But when he's not, if let's say he's not conforming to, like I said, like we talked about, if he's got to press and he doesn't want to press.
Yeah. If he's not trusting that process, if he's not trusting the process, you know, it's because at the end of the day, I don't think Ronaldo understands is that if he adapts to this, he's going to be on the end. The whole thing is to get chances for him.
Right.
He's going to be doing a lot better. And, I think with better players, like the proper players, more not like, a Matt Tweedy, more like an Allen who can do what Matt Tweedy doesn't cover, and also, technical ability. I think, maybe Ronaldo changes a bit and essentially pick up on his slack. But that's all I'll say about it.
Right. Then the next thing that was really touched on was the Pep Guardiola argument. Now, obviously, there's this style of play, right?
Yeah.
Quick passing, triangles, obviously high press, get the ball back.
Yeah.
Limit the team as much as possible. Limit, obviously, the opposing team to as little minutes having the ball as you can, right? And then obviously run up the score enough that even if you do concede some goals because you're a little bit leaky defensively, it doesn't necessarily matter. That's kind of how I see it. Again,
yeah.
So he did bring up Pep Guardiola, and I know recently he was throwing a little bit a shade about Juve podcasts and how many there were out there, which is fine. But he did make a little bit of a blunder himself on the video, which is fine. I mean, hey, this is a tough job. I give him credit for coming out, putting out a what was it, like 10, 12-minute video?
No, it was a great thread. I loved it. Beautiful
I think you did.
Man,
I think
by
you
the way,
did.
Eric, if you're watching.
Yeah,
it's very beautiful.
Exactly. And so he did a great job. I like it.
I agree.
But he said they had the 3 best mid at the time. And they still
I disagree with that.
They still couldn't win it at the time. So let's talk about the mid. They played Tottenham right in the quarterfinals. Mm-hmm. They had in the first leg David Silva, which he said was at the time one of the best. I don't necessarily agree with that. Fernandinho, and then they played a 4-3-3, obviously, in that game. David Silva on the left, Fernandinho in the middle, and Ilkay Gundogan in the middle of that game. They lost 1-0. Obviously, Spurs was at home. Top 3 mid? I don't think so. And
I agree.
Bernardo Silva was not playing in that game for, I can't find the reason. It says an undisclosed injury, but he didn't play in the game.
I remember that. And De Bruyne, was De Bruyne still hurt that game?
So, again, he brought up Kevin De Bruyne in it. That season was one of the most injury-laden seasons he's ever had. I believe his ACL, I believe, or MCL was completely blown to shit. Mm-hmm. And like the previous year, I think it was. And he was just getting back as they played that second leg because he came on the 89th minute, I believe, in the first leg, and then he started in the second. So that I mean, I can't really take this as, I mean, I agree with you to discredit Pep. Yes, he hasn't won and spent a shit ton of money. I agree with that 100%. Either at Bayern, he's won just the league, Man City, just the league, and Barcelona, he had a legend squad like Madrid, and that's my fault of Zidane. When people bring up Zidane, we talk about a guy who's had a team that for 5 years was put together and millions were spent and the right pieces were spent, and they did a great job. I got to give Madrid credit. Mm-hmm. They bought great midfielders. They had great fullbacks. They obviously had Ronaldo, and they had a guy like Benzema who would work with Ronaldo, who would basically, I don't want to say derogatory, but was basically his bitch for 5-6 years.
Yeah, he was creating the space.
And would do the service for him, right? He would do whatever he needed for him and took a lot of the brunt in the media, right? So, again, it's difficult to say. Bernardo Silva did come on, or did play in the second leg, I believe, and he did score, but he was as a right wing. He wasn't in the midfield. Mm-hmm. So, again, that's kind of a tough, judge of saying all attacking football can't win you Champions League titles, because look, Barcelona's done it. Yes, they did have a legend team that everyone would put the ball exactly where they needed it, exactly at the moment they wanted it. That's true. It's a legend team. I'm not going to deny that. But so you can't really use the Man City thing as, we can't buy the right players because they had the best in the world. I would say Kevin De Bruyne is one of the best in the world when he's healthy. Gundogan, Fernandinho, and David Silva, I don't necessarily agree with that point. And then he obviously brought up Kulusevski. He doesn't think that, obviously, because he's doing so well. Or actually, let me make
He's doing well at Parma. I think he's on 8 goals and 8 assists now, something about that.
Yes, it is. If you want to say a couple things about the Man City before, I know I kind of
Yeah,
rambled.
no. I see his point. I understand. But also to kind of counteract that point, if Kevin De Bruyne was healthy, and I still think Fernandinho, he's a great CDM.
Yeah.
He's just borderline shithouse. Like he's gonna kill you. Like
Fair play.
I still think David Silva's a top player, but in his defense, if healthy Kevin De Bruyne, the City were going through. They actually almost went through if it wasn't for VAR. And so
and away goals. So they won that game 4-3. The second leg they won 4-3. Spurs go through obviously because they scored the 3 away goals, and you could say it was open, whatever.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
but I think
again
that first game
go against his point. Like a healthy Kevin De Bruyne, and away goals kind of screwed him in VAR. So you have 3 factors out of there. The best midfielder on the planet, in my opinion, in Kevin De Bruyne, because when he's healthy and he's playing, it's beautiful.
Right.
But Man City, it was just unlucky. You need luck, and that's something as well that Juve have been lacking, as well as Bayern, if you look at it. But just a quick, about that Barcelona team, I think you're forgetting that the core, the nucleus of that team came from La Masia with Pep.
Oh, yeah.
It was like Iniesta. Xavi was actually almost out the door, I believe, around the time Pep came around. And as
it
well,
was ingrained, right?
Yeah. And as well as, Busquets coming up, Pedro, and he actually kicked out Deco, Ronaldinho, and someone else. And bringing in Dani Alves, I think, ever since then, obviously he can't win, and people keep bringing up Barca, but people forget he built that team.
Right.
That's what I want to say in defense of Pep. That's the only thing I'll say about that with Barca. But
because I can't stand them or Real just as much as the other ones.
Yeah.
I don't. Their fans are they're mirrored after those 2 fanboys.
Yeah, and people forget. Sorry, Barca fans, you're watching this. You really don't have any history, European wise, before Cruyff came along.
Oh yeah.
Just saying, it was always Madrid, and actually,
Facts.
sorry.
And then let's get on to Kulusevski. So he made the point that obviously Kulusevski's done so well, or he's doing so well at Parma right now. He's on a tear, and he doesn't necessarily believe it's a pick and plug in that it's going to work 100%, and you're adding this quality through him. That he's doing so well there that it's going to translate completely under Sarri's system because of, I would say, not necessarily telling the guys how to play, not getting the message across, so on and so forth. My counter to that is, if that was the case, obviously we didn't know, then what's the point of even keeping Ronaldo? Because if no one's going to, if you can't pick and plug, then what's the point? Then what's the point of even bringing Sarri in the first place? There's obviously some tangible benefit of, bringing in players that are more, or that are used to his system, playing his style of play, and are obviously quicker players, pass the ball quickly, accurate on the pass, stuff like that. He's won, he won the Europa League. That wasn't a fluke. Napoli played really well. You could say, and that's obviously something that we'll get to in a couple points. But what do you think about the Kulusevski comment?
So I see where he's going with it, in the sense of if the system keeps continuing as it is, and for some reason we're seeing this lack of creativity that we've been seeing, and for players with different roles, it depends on how Kulusevski's going to be managed. If he's coming in and he expects him to kind of play like Berna and keep pressing and not really do much with the ball, he's going to flounder. But if we play how a coach should to the player's strengths, he's going to be great. It's always a slippery slope with these kind of situations, because you never know how well a player is going to adapt. Trying to think of a more recent example. Cancelo, for example. He was
great. Does
he
get along with the coach?
Yeah, how
does he want to play?
What's the coach's mindset? Allegri's very defensive, and Cancelo's very attacking
Offensive.
fullback. It's a great, it wasn't exactly, he was still good with us, but under a different coach, I think it will be, I don't want to speak for Eric, whatever his point was. I interpret it as, it depends on how Sarri's going to treat him and what Sarri's going to use him for. Yeah.
And again,
But,
we're picking this, we're sitting back. Again, like I said, I looked up a lot of these stats. We're sitting back picking. You could say it's unfair, but again, this is just kind of how, my opinion on his piece. And I give him credit. I think he did a good job.
oh yeah.
And I did agree with quite a bit of actually what he kind of, I guess we're going on the more contentious points if you want to say that. But next kind of thing you brought up, you mentioned obviously teams that have had change, like teams that we've played. You look at Milan. You've looked at did Sassuolo fire their coach before, or did Zerbi start the whole season?
The Zerbi has been here for 2 seasons because So if my history is correct, because it was I can't pronounce his name. It was the current coach of Fiorentina is it's like Iñaki. I forget. I can't picture.
Iacchini.
Iacchini. Yeah, I always forget. So because EDF, Di Francesco went to Roma, and I believe he was brought in, and then the Zerbi showed up with Benevento with a Serie C squad and still performed well. They played decent, as in like the football was kind of attractive, but he's a young up-and-coming manager, and ever since I think it's been 2 years, the board again has put trust into him.
Right.
And look at the results. The Roma's back in Europe, but the Zerbi's been there for 2 years now. So that's his team.
So I think the point was trying to be made that look at these other teams that have obviously changed coaches mid-season, or even at the beginning of the season. You look at, Gattuso coming in, you look at Pioli coming in, and obviously those teams have had, success. Obviously with the Napoli point, they still know how to pass. They still have that chemistry. I think you can't look at it the same way because we're going from A to Z. Yeah. From what Allegri had to now what Sarri wants. And when you come in, obviously a team that's underperforming, we're not talking about teams that are sitting at the top of the table and need to consistently win to stay there. We're talking about teams that were, falling towards mid-table, and now you have an open slate. So if you can motivate guys and they buy into what you're selling, I mean, really, you look at what happens with Milan, and yes, they have talented players, and they're following what Pioli wants them to do. Yeah. But that's just kind of how it works with when a coach gets replaced and a caretaker comes in. It doesn't happen all the time, though. You look at look at those two exactly, right? Yeah. You look at the top examples. That's fine. Milan and Napoli have been good. But you look at the lower table, it's not like you're seeing Samp or Spal or Brescia get out of the relegation zone. Yeah,
to me, it's a case-by-case basis. You have to look at these things. Like Samp, for example, because they start off with Di Francesco, and I think they went with someone else before Ranieri came in. And then I don't know if Ranieri's still with them. I didn't see him being sacked, but he kind of got them out, sort of.
Right.
But to me, it's a case-by-case basis you have to go on because Napoli, for example, was the example he used.
Yeah.
Gattuso comes in, and it's relatively the same core. There's not that much turnover at Napoli. Right. There's a lot of turnover with Juve. Not a lot, but, I mean, new players coming in, wanting to integrate them in. You have to worry about that. Your new right back, that Sarri emphasize heavily that right side that we talked about before. Right. You have a right back who can't really pass, using a right winger as a right back. You have these injuries coming in. Fellini, brand new style. You're going from, Allegri ball to Sarri ball.
Right.
With Napoli, Gattuso came in and basically he's doing what Ancelotti almost was trying to do. Ancelotti, I believe, is more possession based. Gattuso is just like, hey, you know what? We're just gonna, we're gonna play on the counter. Yep. I'm gonna kill you if you don't run the training, like Lozano. I found out, unfortunately. But I see where he was going. And again, I'm on defense with it, but I think this is something you look at a case by case basis. There we go. A lot of aces.
He dropped the players losing confidence in the coach, and you know what? That I have to agree with.
Yeah, yep,
Go
absolutely.
ahead, man. Run
No,
with it.
like, so it's just like it bugs me because when it comes to these big games like against Inter the Derby, they look motivated, but not because of Sarri. It looks more
Yeah,
motivated because
the occasion.
this clown, Conte is talking all this shit in the media. It's Inter, they're pushing their title challenge. Let's show them who we are. But then when you get actual games like Atalanta, and like I don't blame Ronaldo that much for sitting there. I mean, I hate it, but at the same time, like, what are you going to do? Because as much as as I didn't like Allegri towards the end, hearing him yell on the sideline was promising because it showed that he cared and the players reacted accordingly to it. He's silent.
See, I don't know about that.
Smoking. I don't know if he's smoking or something or writing something down, but it looks like he mentioned, they just lost confidence in the system because they aren't playing any better.
Yeah.
They're, if anything, it appears to be that we're, worse.
It just seems like they're not listening to what he wants
They're like,
to
I
do.
don't want, and I feel like they're often confused. I believe Eric pointed out because Sarri's just like, yeah, I'm trying to control the back line, but then when it comes to final third, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
that just doesn't work with a team that was so organized before.
Yeah,
to an
and
extent.
they're just, and again, they're not. And then the results are not going in our favor, and then that's when you lose confidence in the project, and then you try, and then again you see instances like Dybala, Ronaldo talking and saying they're not getting us the ball, this and that, and you hear all the shit.
Mid-season you're going with the the diamond mid, and you're trying to throw all these we went from, I believe it was Dybala as a cam at one point. He was behind Ronaldo and Higuain, and then it was Bentancur, and it was Pjanic, and it was Ramsey. When you go through 4 different players in one position, as a player, I feel like you'd just be like, dude, what are you doing? And you have players like Ramsey and Ronaldo both saying, no, I don't want to play here. I want to play here. I feel more comfortable here. That shows the other players, less younger players as well. They're like, who's this guy? Like, Ronaldo and Ramsey are telling him what to do.
Don't even respect him to
why,
be like,
why should I have respect for you?
Exactly.
But
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I agree with Eric on that. They definitely lost. They definitely lost confidence. And the same thing at Chelsea too. They came out.
Yeah,
exactly. Hazard just did whatever you want apparently.
Exactly. So I think that's a big part of it. I think that's a big. Next kind of thing, obviously, he mentioned players look lost. He talked about, not really obviously knowing, and he said this in the past before, obviously, he's been on Al's podcast as well. If you guys should check that out as well. But he's mentioned the cases with Chelsea and obviously Napoli on different occasions. And I think you can only use that argument if you've been given, obviously, with the talking about quality of players, you can only use that argument if you have been given the players you wanted and it still doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you haven't, you don't know what the outcome is. It could be shit. It could be world class. Everything could work out for a season. But it's too difficult to drop that and that much of a assumption, and then I look at it as, again, if we found out that Sarri isn't the right coach, he's not up to the standard that we need to be, he's not a great enough coach, he's not intelligent enough, he's not pragmatic enough, whatever. If we found that out, and then maybe that was even known before, that's fine.
Yeah.
But Juve found that out. Juve fans are finding that out now, and obviously, there's people in this club that get paid way more than me and way more than you and more than a lot of other fans that talk about our beautiful club that get paid a hell of a lot more to do their job. And if they notice that and still sign the guy, that's on your ass, Agnelli.
Yes.
That's on your ass, Paratici. And that's where the buck stops, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because you allowed this situation to get there. I don't want to. And then again, they're talking about, Paratici and Nedved convinced Agnelli. That's bullshit, man. You've made so many decisions in the past that are so like ridiculous, and contract extensions
Yeah.
and
And
signing the wrong
previous
guy.
hirings of coaches like
Exactly.
Allegri was pretty bad. The
And
outcry.
now all of a sudden you think you have a foot to stand on by saying, "Oh well, Sarri, we didn't know this, or we didn't think it was going to be this bad. We could have thought he could." Bullshit.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
I've mentioned it before. Like, I think, they're sacking Allegri, expecting Zidane to come in, but
Yeah,
then he kind of
exactly.
went to Madrid and shocked everyone. They're like, "Oh
Now what?
shit!" So then he went for Pep, and Pep was like, "No, I want to stay." They went to Poch, and Poch was like, "No, I just made a final. Maybe I can do better." Okay, and then he went to Conte, and he's like, "Hey, give me 12 million." And they're like, "No." So then who's that fall to? Sorry. So to me, I think what's going to happen, or kind of hoping, unless COVID messed everything up, I was expecting this to just be a short-term interim sense, kind of like what Bayern does usually.
Get their guy after.
Yeah, get their guy out, bring someone in that just get them through the season, introduce maybe like a different style or something. And to me, when they made the signing, was, like I said before, short-term, introduce to attack and get the fundamentals in, but doesn't seem to have happened, and then go for someone that actually plays more attacking football, like a Pep was the dream. But maybe we'll not settle, but someone like Poch. But
that's what I thought we needed. We needed someone like Pochettino.
Yep.
Even a Conte at the beginning.
Yeah.
Even a Conte. And Agnelli's too proud to even allow that to happen after what happened when he left after his first 3 years. So I don't see that ever happening again.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if we hired him again.
Yeah, I don't blame him, to be honest. I mean,
I'm actually loving these Allegri to Merda because I want to see what our fans are going to be saying after he goes to fucking Merda. I want to see you rip him a new one like you did our coach. And don't get me wrong, if you want to hate the guy as a coach now, I totally can respect that. I respect what he did. I think he did a hell of a job for us to get us where we needed to be. No one thought we were winning that Scudetto in the first season. That he did, and so I don't want to go into that because to me, I have no room. What the guy's contributed as a player, I don't see the need to go that far and rip the guy an asshole because he took a job. Yes, it's a particular job, but it's a job nonetheless.
Yeah.
So now I want to see
exactly.
I don't have any disrespect. I don't have any ill. Obviously, you could say, well, Conte was a player and
captain,
and now obviously coach. So it's a little bit different. That's fine. You can have that argument. I'm not going to argue with.
I understand,
but I'm not going to say boo about him because of what he's done. And I really could give a shit what he says in the media. I could really give a shit what he says in the press conference. It's all bullshit in my honest opinion. It's what he's doing for his job, and that's it. I don't think he means anything. And whatever, you guys can go back and forth on that. But to me, it is. I would love to see Allegri go to Merda. This would be a birthday.
That would be interesting.
I would love to see this turn. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Because just the same way they did to Conte, the exact same way. I hope you guys all remember what you guys said, and I hope you stay on that same level.
See, I think part of it is where it differs is how they left mostly. I understand why people hate him. I understand why people also, still like Conte. I'm indifferent because, he left in the middle of training. Yeah, the way in that comment, like, oh, how am I going to eat in a €100 restaurant with 10 euros? And it's like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, trust the process, taking off of the Sixers.
True.
You have to trust that process. And the same thing, it happened even before. Was it Livorno is what he was at before Juve? I forget who it was, because every club that he's left so far, it was issues with transfers. It happened with Chelsea. It happened with us. It happened to the team before. So, I mean, and he's only there because of the 12 million. I mean, let's be real.
Exactly.
Like,
I don't fault the guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
neither do I.
He's doing horrible to like fuck their shit. Obviously, they won today, but to fuck their whole shit up. So I have no problem with that. But let me tell you one thing though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I don't want to get too deep into this. This will be kind of the last thing for me. What did Conte want? Quadrado? Who the hell is one? Who is Allegri? What did he win before? And he was given essentially, he was started bringing in these exact same players that Conte was asking for. But now all of a sudden, so because he asked the club, now all of a sudden we have a problem. But when they bring those exact same players that he wanted to a year, 2 years later, now all of a sudden we're okay with our management. That's a shady management, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, people forget, Conte did want a Turbe.
He
A couple
did.
other players didn't work out. But I also think, I don't know if I heard. Did you say, was it about Allegri? You said, what does he win before? I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he didn't do. He was famous for the same thing that he was known, playing a great second leg after he got smashed by Barcelona, and we got the same thing just the past 2 years.
You're talking about.
No,
you're
I'm
talking
just saying in
about
general.
okay.
He's obviously he's won one Scudetto with a really good Milan team.
You're also forgetting, he was, and he found Matuidi as well.
Sorry. I apologize. I'll take that back. But anyways, let's get back to this.
Yeah.
Couple more points. Obviously, he made a comment saying that if when they remove Sarri, obviously you look at Napoli, you look at Chelsea, wherever, they still play better. To me, that's more of a credit of, like I said, when you have a team that's played for 4, 5, 6 years together, they get that accommodation, unity. Everyone knows where they know what runs you like to make. They know if you're gonna go, if you pull up, the guy's gonna make a run to the corner, make a run towards the center of the field. That stuff, everybody gets on the same page. I think it's a little bit different. Too easy of a cop out to say that. I don't know if you agree with that, Jake, but kind of again, I think it's a case by case thing.
Yeah,
I don't think Chelsea's looked incredible this year, to be quite honest.
No, I think because Eric did bring that up, and I think it's a good point about chemistry, how long the team's been together, who's left, who hasn't, and excuse me. You think again, you brought up Chelsea, and Lampard inherited a pretty good squad that Conte kind of built. He has integral pieces in there like Conte, Sarri, Brun, Jorginho, and Kovacic, but at the end of the day, they've been playing with each other for a while. Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham, they've been literally joined at the hip in their youth academy for since they were young. There's a lot of stuff you have to take into consideration, like you said, case by case basis, of course, because look at how many teams have faltered over the years.
Yeah, exactly. And then last thing, obviously, he talked about giving Saturday another year. What happens if he does get his players, or what happens if, he doesn't still get his players and we're in the same predicament? Well, if that's the fucking case, then I know exactly whose head needs to be on a fucking pike outside J Stadium, and it isn't Saturday, because we've been going down the same road, and we get into these cycles where we go, okay, well, the coach has to be pragmatic, and then we get to the off season, and then we don't improve the midfield, and then we bitch about the mid. It's like the 5 signs of depression. We go through the same down cycle every year with this. It goes, we complain about the midfield, nothing's done. Then we kind of accept it, and then we say, okay, well, the coach should fucking deal with it. And then once we get knocked out of Champions League, we go right back to the same shit all over again. So, again, I know who I'm looking at. I've been looking at them for the past 3 years. I think if we get out of this period without a Champions League, there needs to be a massive, and I would almost say, Agnelli, you stay on the board, you keep collecting your check, and you get some actual football, and you bring back the DNA. You bring back Del Piero, which I think is a very intelligent mind in soccer. I think he's very underrated. He's made some really good comments in the past about what to do. I think you bring him as the Prez. You bring in Buffon. You bring back all the legends. Obviously, Chiellini at that point might be, he might be done at that point. You bring him and you instill the same DNA that we are so lacking. No one is bleeding for the shirt anymore. No one is fighting for every ball. It's just, and even with Allegri, I don't want to hear it. Even with Allegri, so it's not just that Saturday. The mentality, this money over everything. We've gotten too much, and I think the experiment as a brand if we get to that point without Champions League, massive failure, because when you become the team, and let's say we go to certain finals in the next coming that loses again, and you're going to be the team known as 7, 8, 9 losses in Champions League finals. You're not going to be known as the team that had Ronaldo. You're going to be known as the failure who keeps losing in Champions League finals.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't give a shit that we brought him in.
I don't know. Like, I understand where you're coming from with having like former players kind of have higher ups. I also believe that, unfortunately, this is kind of how football is going to when it comes to these brands. Yeah. So I think, it's going to be handled more as a business, and bleeding for a shirt and whatnot, going back to the roots. But also, we have to remember, losing in these finals unfortunately, it's part of the history. I mean, in the mid-90s, 3 in a row, we beat Ajax and then lost the consecutive 2, with Dortmund and Madrid, 2003 against Milan. But, I do agree there needs to be a Champions League at the end of the cycle, because we've built to this point and we've set these benchmarks. Yeah. Like, if, reminding people years ago, and Yelly said, my goal is to sign Ronaldo. And then he said, my goal is to sign the next Ronaldo at the age of 24, which I'm hoping is that little French forward at PSG.
Swap with Ronaldo.
I was hoping for that.
I'll sign it today.
But I think that I don't see Sarri staying for another year.
No,
and also,
not.
If he does, I don't think we're signing any of his players, because now we're in a situation like at Chelsea where you have Jorginho, who still plays, yes, because he's integral to that, because he's a he's a quality regista. But you have guys like Palmieri, Zappacosta, who aren't getting that much game time. And I think Zappacosta went on loan to Roma.
Yeah, to Roma. Yep.
And now you have dead weight. Now we're back to square one. We have this, this wood. We have this dead wood, this dead weight, whatever you want to call it. So I'm hoping for Poch, and we build with Poch. Because if you build with a manager, a competent manager, like look at Atalanta, look at Sassuolo, look at Lazio. They put faith into these managers, and look at them now. They're reaping the benefits of it. So if we get someone, a younger coach like Poch, who's proved himself, and we stick with them, and as long as we stay committed to them and back them like we should, that Champions League can come a lot sooner than we think. But
that's why I think it was such a weird idea to bring in, like you said. I almost don't believe it because of the contract we signed.
Yeah.
And they barely wanted to move on from Allegri even after his having 2 years on his contract.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're gonna sign Sarri to this contract, and now it's gonna be like, yay, let's get rid of him after 1 year. That's what shocks me. And then again, like the perfect point that you made, you bring him in, don't sign his players in the first year, and then so what do? Either one, you're getting rid of him, you're taking him out of the equation after 1 year, and this is just a jump in time from A to B to kind of mind over the time because the coach you wanted wasn't there.
Yeah.
Or you really do believe that this guy you are gonna make the signings for the next year. And then if it goes to shit next year, then again, like you said, you're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. Sarri's not entirely to blame.
No.
Not entirely, of course not. But also the management needs to start backing their managers more, because, I get it was a little rushed. The planning was horrible.
Well, it is.
As we went before, we ran through 4 other managers that they were linked to before Sarri. So you can see kind of everything was fucked up.
And I would say, why do we put ourselves in? To me, that's all on management. Why do we put ourselves in these situations? We should, as the club, obviously being behind the big guns because they make so much more money than we do. You have to be so smart and to see that those guys who make so much more money, the Real Madrid, Barcelona, even you look at Liverpool, they make so much more money than we do, and they still build teams, man.
Yeah,
you wouldn't think of that. You would think these teams are, they would be like the Man Cities, but they don't. You look at Real Madrid, they perfectly calculated and won 3 in a row. Obviously, they got lucky. We can talk about that, whatever.
But
even Liverpool, 4 years, obviously, of winning nothing, and then they go on to win a Champions League.
That's
and
where
they
that's
bought
where
the
it goes
guys
to.
they need. And
Yep.
exactly.
It's
And
to my point. We need to
do
start
this shit.
backing because Klopp, for he had his vision. The board
Yep.
trusted him, and they went through with it. Same thing with Barcelona early on with Pep and Luis Enrique and their whole style. Attacking football, all of that jazz. But I also feel like they kind of got lucky with Messi as well, of course, being there. We won't get into that, but Perez, an absolute genius. I mean, Ronaldo leaves for 100 million. You immediately invest that into, you have Valverde, you have Rodrigo, you have Vinicius, you have
Yeah.
more on the way. They've also been in the game for a while. Like I think it
Right.
was, like you remember Perez. One of his main things with the presidency was, I will sign Luis Figo. They were like, yeah, all right, sure, you're the president now. Back up
Yeah.
your talk. And then Luis Figo comes in. He's brilliant. And I
Yeah.
think Agnelli over time will start to become that as he gets more experience because he was a little baby when he took hold of the
Right.
club.
Exactly.
And now, and he trusted Marotta at first, bringing him in. I think it was from Samp at the time.
Yeah,
And they made smart
exactly.
deals early on. And now we need to continue with that. We can't lack like we're doing right now. We're stagnating. That's not good.
Yeah.
We need to stick with this. We need to back up the manager, basically.
And that's what I mentioned. People were talking about, Agnelli being on these other big companies, were obviously managing in those companies, and it's not the same thing. I mean,
when it
especially
comes to football,
especially the lifestyle they got. Obviously, how he's grown up, obviously in wealth. But so it's a little bit different. And like you said, I think Marotta is a very key player. I mean, as much as people want to give him shit for some of the stupid deals, which he did, he has made
everyone
deals.
has those, like
But he was really riding the ship for a long time. That's the only problem I have, and this is what it is.
yeah,
I believe that with Allegri, and this is why the Ronaldo deal is so difficult for me. Because I get it. I would love to have won 4 Champions Leagues in a row with Ronaldo. I have no problem with that. I would have no problem. I would buy the jersey every year.
yeah,
Whatever. I'd buy the jersey every year anyways. So I would have loved for Agnelli and Paratici and Marotta to keep building, keep improving that team we had that just lost the final. Not get all gung-ho about brand and about dollars. We didn't necessarily need that right away. It's baby steps. We could have achieved the brand later on. I didn't think we needed to jump that far. You look at Liverpool, they didn't need to jump that far. Slowly keep building up the team, fix the midfield. And I honestly wholeheartedly think we would have won a Champions League by now if we just didn't succumb to a pipe dream of Ronaldo. And I really do believe Agnelli thought that Ronaldo was gonna do it for us. I think that's
just
what
put him
the
on his
goal
back. Yeah,
I honestly believe that's what they thought. And they knew that they were going to make a lot of money. They were going to get a lot of followers. They were going to sell a lot of merch. Yes, that all comes with it. Yes, the sponsorship revenue is going to go up. Didn't go up as high as all of you thought. We're not even in the stratosphere of those other teams still. And one of our sponsors is our own company. So
yeah,
to me, not as good as what people are saying. But anyways, still good.
yeah.
Still good.
And of course, I'll refrain my full judgment till the end of this cycle, see how
Exactly.
it goes, because who the hell knows? Maybe next year, huge. We talked about,
we can win next year.
Yeah, we can win. Yeah, it's football's unpredictable. You can't predict it, and that's the beauty of it with all sports, really. And that's why most of us are fans. Anything can happen, we believe. But